What do you think the number one thing is that they're forming in our body with this nanotechnology?
On some planes, and sometimes they're doing it at some of the sporting events.
Who is they that's releasing this nano fogging, these chemicals, these chemtrails?
A lot of times the speakers get sick after these conferences because what they do is they release these little nano foggings onto the speakers.
Did he die of the coronavirus? If you haven't, go to davidhebner.tv, sign up right now.
You'll catch full interviews not only on L.A. Marzulli, but Russ Dizdar, Rob Skiba, and Irvin Baxter.
You'll find we have an original programming channel with special interview, talks about UFOs and Bible prophecy. It's the interviews I've done. You can catch the complete package there on davidhebner.tv. We're talking tonight about nanotechnology. For those of you that are just tuning in, nanotechnology is micro, small technology that that's operated by SIT, Satan's Informational Technology. It's a software that puts these small nanos in our body, and this technology orchestrates, tells these nanos what to do, and they form in our body for a specific reason. And I'm going to bring on my guest, Dr. Monzo, who knows much more about it than I do. Dr. Monzo, are you there?
Yes.
So they're putting this nano in our body. The Satan Informational Technology is the software that orchestrates the agenda behind it. What is it they're forming in our body? What can you tell me? What do you think the number one thing is that they're forming in our body with this nanotechnology?
For the average person, basically communication networks.
Okay.
So they can communicate with your body.
Okay.
Now, when you get to the jab people, it's a lot more complicated because then with them, they're forming all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. You think this is part of the Antichrist play with this nanotechnology?
Yep. I think he's just starting.
What about this nano fogging? What's nano fogging?
Yeah, so nano fogging, it's also called nano foglets. They're slightly different, but they actually have this concept of nano foglets where they want to create these actual nano little beads, particles in the air that you can literally store information on. So like a real virtual iCloud.
Wow.
Now, they're also using nano fogging as a spray or a mist where they can spray it in an area and it's full of nanotech. So if you go to a lot of these big truth conferences where people are speaking, a lot of times the speakers get sick after these conferences because what they do is they release these little nano foggings onto the speakers, and they get this nanotech into their body, and then they have to start attacking them with health problems.
Wow.
And they're doing it on some planes, and sometimes they're doing it at some of the sporting events.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you'll see they will fog the arena before, and they say they're disinfecting, but we know better than that.
Which brings me, Dr. Monzo, to Rob Skiba, the conference that we attended. I spoke there. He spoke there. I believe you spoke there, right?
Yes.
Take on the world. The interview I did with him was the last interview that he did. So they say. And he was a very good friend of yours.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a pretty good judge of people. I mean, I'm a director. I make movies. It's kind of what I do. I read people. This man was a healthy human being. This man was not a sick. This man's immune system was not compromised. Now, though I was only with him for maybe an hour, 2 hours max, doing interviews, you watch people, you listen to them, you talk to them. He was a healthy human being. What say you?
Yeah, he was very healthy. He didn't have any health problems that I knew of.
Right.
But maybe he had like an old back injury, but it's like, who doesn't?
I mean, come on. It's like, if you're over 50, you got something going on. But yet, he died, so they say, of the coronavirus. Did he die of the coronavirus?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
Now,
the hospital killed him.
okay. Well, we'll go back there, but I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned conferences, they spray this stuff, this nano fogging at different conferences, I guess, where there's speakers. And I think the agenda is they want to try to take out the speakers, right? They want
Yes.
to. Did they nano fog take on the world a year and a half ago, just before Rob Skiba went on to be with the Lord?
I believe they did. I do, because there was a lot of speakers who actually got sick after that. Even I was fighting something.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of them recovered and some didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I did not get sick, but I'll tell you why I didn't get sick. Because I had whatever was implanted, they tried to implant in you and they planted in Rob Skiba. They had already implanted in me back in a conference I went to back in March. And that was of 2020. And that's when the so-called coronavirus just was unleashed from, quote, China. So I had already been battling this thing for like 3 months, March, April, May. And so I believe that whatever antibodies were in my body kept me from getting sick. Does that make any sense, that they had already gotten it on me? It had already taken me down hard, but I came back up. And when I came back up, I had the antibiotics, the bodies in me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because the technology is rapidly changing, but it's not that fast yet. So I typically see these things run 3-6 months sometimes for the same new weaponized pathogen, which a weaponized pathogen is both pathogen and nanotech. It's half machine, half pathogen. And then, then they update them and they release new ones. But it takes a while before they really release a new one.
So when you say they, who is they that's releasing this nano fogging, these chemicals, these chemtrails? Who are they?
Well, I would say on one level you would call them the deep state, but above that, they're being handled too, and ultimately, their handlers are the demonic forces.
Yeah, would that be the Nephilim?
I think it's a Nephilim.
Yeah.
Which I ran into a real life Nephilim at the last conference I spoke at Red Pill.
Really?
Yes.
Can you share that experience with me?
It was insane, because we have been spiritually fighting ever since. But he was a big guy. He was pretty muscular. I just had this really bad feeling about this guy, and he had these weird symbols and everything on his table. He was tall and he was big, and he came up to me. These eyes that just pierce you. And he starts the conversation really weird. He goes, "Do you believe in aliens?" And I'm like, "Oh boy." I'm like, "Well, I do, but I don't know if I want to tell you what I think about them." So I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you believe they could be walking among us and look just like us?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Good, because I am one." And he was telling me what planet he was from and how he was here, and he was here to work with the white hats, and he's here to wake people up. And then he gave me this like weird Illuminati handshake where he came up from the top and came down. As soon as I shook his hand, all hell broke loose. Literally minutes later, I got a text from my wife saying the kids at home were all sick out of nowhere. And all our stuff at the booth started misfunctioning, our computers. And it was just like, whoa. So I didn't know what to think at first. I thought, okay, either this guy is certifiably crazy and he thinks he's an alien, or he's a con man, or he really is. Well, we found out really quick. He really was. And he had some little warlock with him and a witch. And it was like out of the movies. I mean, he's been after me ever since.
Wow. And he was planted there. He was planted there knowing that you would be there because you have that information. See, there's Satan informational technology, SIT, but then there's God's informational technology, Monzo, which you have because you have the mind of Christ. Listen, we have the new End Times DVD. It investigates End Times investigation. I have a lot of my friends on here, Lisa Haven, Michael Lake, I have Josh Peck, L.A. Marzulli, Stephen Bancrofts. I mean, 8 hours of of me investigating things like Satanism, demonic powers, Illuminati, New World Order, Antichrist, one world religion, end times miracles, Bible prophecy. Folks, let me tell you something. One day, what you're watching us on right now, it's called television, it's called social media, it's called the internet. They're going to turn that baby off. You need a hard asset. When all this stuff gets shut off, this is what you're going to be able to learn from and to understand. So I want you to text the word chosen to 91999 or go to davidheavener.tv/order or call 844-806-0006. The brand new DVD of Last Evangelist. You can get it right now. It's limited collector's edition. It's got the new episode on it, along with band videos with me and Michael Lake and Lisa Haven, Sheila Lazinski. Also, if you want to see Last Evangelist, the episode, it's exclusively episode 1 on davidheavener.tv.